Good thing life changes once you get out of high school and start contributing to the workforce. Some might throw a fit over this statement, since to them, high school is work for their little snowflake, and they deserve a trophy for trying. We don't get participation trophies in real life, but they're working on it. Once we go socialism, you'll see just how good we used to have it. My participation trophy is called a paycheck. The way some people describe socialism, it sounds great. What's not to love? That was until I educated myself about it, since my teachers never did. But anyway, in school, you have cliques, you have people that want to be thought of as cool, you have jocks, you got the nerds, the dorks, the uncool kids. We had a pretty typical high school. Everybody knew their place, the school hierarchy. The jocks and the cool kids pretty much ran the show. They dictated what the rest of the social classes did. They're the ones who pick on the weaker students when they choose. It's their influence to the faculty that changes certain things, like certain rules. And the lower classes knew their role. Wait, I can't say lower class. It might offend somebody. The underclass. No, wait, can't say that either. How about the younger students? No. Students newer to the class timeline. Will that not offend someone? You never know nowadays. But they knew their role. They were grateful when any of the upperclassmen talked to them, anything beyond the teasing, the bullying, and getting stuffed in a locker. They figured someday they'd be the ones to get to flush a freshman head in a toilet after they paid their dues. I remember during class elections, the cool kids running for office, they started this thing where they would adopt a member of the uncool crowd. They were suddenly nice to them, showed interest in them, stopped bullying them. Then after the class elections, they'd act like before or just pretend those same students didn't exist. It was weird, too, because they always got reelected. People finally stopped trusting them after a while. There was this kid who went to Mariner High School, Jake Tucker. He was like a legend. Great grades, went to state every year in any sport, quarterback for the football team, point guard in basketball. He had brilliant ideas for his school. Everybody in his school just adored him. Actually, everybody at Everett High and Cascade High adored him too. He was like a legend. School newspapers, even our school newspaper, would write stories about him and his achievements, or when he led his team to state, won championships. Whenever our school would have any type of event with Mariner High School, all the girls and even some of the guys were just amazed. Jake was so charismatic. He was a folk legend. I remember one weekend I heard a rumor Jake Tucker was going to attend our high school. I really didn't pay much attention to it because it was such an outlandish idea. Couldn't even be possible. Then it happened. It was true. And boy, was that insane. A legend like Jake Tucker at our school. The school hierarchy, they were kind of confused at first. They would smile and talk about it enthusiastically, but underneath, they weren't really quite sure what to think. So Jake Tucker was super popular with everybody, and the in crowd at my high school did not like that one bit. I remember some of the jocks and the cool kids would try to associate with him, like, hey, we're the cool kids, we're the in crowd, you want to be hanging around with us, trying to make him one of them. He was like, no thanks. Well, the upper class school hierarchy didn't like that. Some outsider who's adored by most of the school treats the lower classmen like gold, better at sports, steamrolling the jocks, took the first string quarterback Adam Chandler's position, took focus off all of the cool kids. But the upper class of cool kids and jocks, they wanted to stop Jake Tucker. They did not like playing second fiddle at all. So they started rumors about him. I remember this. Totally fabricated rumors that had no merit at all. They twisted anything he said into a negative somehow. They would bully the non-popular kids, but then accuse Jake of bullying. What stumped me is that some of the kids who were bullied by the cool kids actually believed them when they said Jake was a bully. It was insanity. Or they would make things he did seem like a bad thing. Even things the cool kids did before Jake came to our school, they praised themselves and bragged when they did it. But if Jake did it, it was horrible. Total double standard. The school newspaper started printing negative stories about Jake, even though not even a year ago, they were writing stories about how great he was. So they'd run stories about all the times Jake got second or third place in something, or if he'd ever failed at anything. And they were really subtle about it, too. Almost sneaky. Of course, it was when he was in grade school or junior high. I mean, things that really didn't matter if it was someone else. Somehow they always tried to make it matter because it was him. They would insert these snide comments that were more negative than factual, and some students would actually believe them. After all, it was in the school newspaper, run by members of the in crowd or their girlfriends or relatives. So the rumors, the jocks, and the cool kids started. They took hold with some of the naive kids and the gullible kids. They hopped on board the anti-Jake Tucker bandwagon. While that was going on, Jake was making a big impact on our school. Now, the in crowd in-crowd, of course, would never admit it. They either ignored any of the good things Jake had been doing, or they tried to spin it into a negative thing. If he brought his teachers some fresh-baked cookies that he baked, of course, from scratch, first the popular kids would try to tease him for knowing how to bake. Then when our classmates thought it was cool that he could bake, they accused him of bribing teachers, and that's probably how he got good grades. Of course, the naive and the gullible believed it. Now, one time, Jake worked really hard to get the soda machines replaced with juice machines. The in-crowd really had a problem with that. First, they said by moving the soda machines, the school band lost money because some of the soda machine money went to them. The funny thing is, I was in band, and we don't remember any time we got any money from any of the vending machines. But then Jake had explained that the school band would still get the money from the machine, but with a healthier juice. The in-crowd conveniently forgot they had a problem with that. They suddenly had a problem with the brand of juice. Now, Jake convinced the faculty to use a local juicer, but it was 10 cents more per bottle. So the cool kids complained that he should have saved that 10 cents per bottle by shipping the juice in from out of state. It costs 10 cents less per bottle, but costs 50 cents more per bottle for shipping from out of state. They didn't mention that part, though. But since the cool kids started spreading rumors saying things like Jake Tucker was a liar, the naive and easily impressionable kids believed the cool kids. He even implemented a system that would direct the funds in a more transparent way that was a lot more efficient when someone wanted to see where the vending machine money was actually going. They didn't like that one bit and tried to stop it. The new system actually caught some of the cool kids taking some of the vending machine money. They tried to accuse Jake of it at first until he demonstrated the system that pointed to a couple of the cool kids. I always thought it was weird because the school newspaper never covered that part. When they got caught, they suddenly said that they were confused by the new system. They never mentioned anything about the money gone before the new system was put in place, but there was a lot of that. I mean, the in-crowd really had a problem with Jake outshining any of them. He was a real animal lover and an advocate for responsible pet ownership, so they said he was an evil dictator who wanted to tell people what to do with their own animals. Then they started a rumor that he actually hated animals and belonged to a cult that sacrificed them. Some people actually believed it. They even tried to get him kicked out of school. Jake would hang out with everybody. There was a place about a block away from Everett High School where some of us smokers would go, since we had an open campus. And Jake would hang out. He didn't smoke, but he was just really liked by everybody. Well, in this group of smokers, there were a few of the in-crowd cool kids, too. Well, someone drove by Smoker's Corner and took a picture of Jake standing there talking, not smoking at all, but he was standing in between a couple of smokers. This anonymous person sent the picture to one of our vice principals. We had 3 vice principals. Even the in-crowd smokers who were there actually smoking said that they saw him smoking at Smoker's Corner, even though he wasn't. They, of course, denied they were smoking and said that they were just driving by and saw him, even though I was standing right next to them. And they were shocked. They were disappointed. They were embarrassed for our school because someone like Jake Tucker was seen smoking, and all he was doing was standing there being friendly with people. They seemed to ignore that their buddies were there smoking too, and they didn't say that they were disappointed and shocked and embarrassed by them. Just Jake Tucker. This was a big issue. They about put him on trial until 9 other smokers came forward on his behalf and explained that he was the only one not smoking. But that's how this in-crowd was, just hateful, hurtful, absolutely insane with jealousy, and afraid they lost their power and influence at the school, their control. Some anonymous girl wrote to the school newspaper saying she dated Jake years ago, and he's a horrible, mean person. He really hates people. He's a cheater. He's a liar. He's a really bad person who's just pretending to be nice. Of course, every girl he dated said that they never saw anything like that, and that he was always kind, courteous, and a gentleman, which, even by the standards back then, was hard to find. But the naive and the easily manipulated believed it. They did everything they could to make him look bad, to make him do bad, to make him not the legend he was before he came to our school. Some of the upper class students, if they had a free period, they could be assigned to be a teacher's aide where they just help teachers grade tests and stuff. Well, a teacher's aide was caught scoring his tests wrong. Of course, she denied it at first, and then she didn't remember. Then she said, "Oh, I made a mistake," even though it was only his tests that were so misgraded. After high school, she said he deserved it because he was a cheater, and she was protecting the reputation of the school from such an evil person. It was just unreal how toxic this in-crowd at my high school was about Jake Tucker. He started out the football season with a huge win over Cascade, but then suddenly we started losing games. The only record I think they had was the number of times Jake was sacked. Now, of course, the losses were all blamed on him, and of course, the school newspaper wrote things things like, Jake Tucker's undefeated streak comes to an end with a spectacular performance by Lake Stevens. It's like they were praising our opponent over our own players. Jake was probably given easy touchdowns in the past, but not anymore. One of our best wide receivers, Joey Kennedy, got a really bad flu and got the whole team sick. They all blamed Jake because Joey had been over at his house earlier, but Jake got the flu after Joey did. So anyway, he stayed home so he didn't give other people the flu. So the cool kids accused him of skipping school so he didn't have to do any work. People sent Jake get well cards. So the in-crowd would bully the people who sent him get well cards, saying that they were supporting a liar and a cheater. Then, when he sent thank you cards in return, they accused him of maliciously sending potentially infected thank you cards to people, and he should be kicked out for that. And when he came back to school, they said he probably wasn't even sick. I remember we used to get all of our sports equipment from this company owned by a teacher's cousin. I always thought that wasn't right, but anyway. Jake found a better deal on sports equipment, plus it helped some homeless charity. Well, that faculty member had a problem with it and started telling students that Jake hated homeless people and that the deal he found was horrible. I mean, the in-crowd were constantly twisting things about Jake Tucker that made him go from a legend that everybody adored and wanted to be like and wanted to be around to some horrible, dumb, genius, scheming, bad person. Those of us who witnessed the sabotage and actually knew Jake remember just how devious the cool kids were before Jake even showed up. Thank goodness we don't have to deal with crap like that after we escape the indoctrination of high school. I don't know. I just call it how I see it.